Welcome back once again to IGN Live at San Diego Comic-Con. I am here with Joshua Yale, who's our senior comics editor, and Ted Price, who's co-founder or founder of Insomniac Games. And you are here with something very special, which is, first of all, Spider-Man for PS4, and second of all, Spider-Man the PS4. This is very special. We are looking at the limited edition Marvel's Spider-Man teleprompter. I'm just kidding. So this just got announced this morning. This is a limited edition PS4 Pro Spider-Man bundle that you guys are. You put a big old spider on it, and this is.
It's pretty incredible for us. I mean, having a game represented by a console and is unprecedented for us, and we're just over the moon when it comes to how Spider-Man is represented by a PlayStation 4 Pro.
This is going to be out September 7th. It's $399.99. It's 1 terabyte. It's a PS4 Pro. If you don't already have one, I mean, you won't be able to play Spider-Man to its fullest powers. Yeah. So I wanted to talk a little bit about like how this game came to be, because you've been at Insomniac. You founded it back in
1994.
1994.
It's been a few years.
It's been a minute, and now you're working on Spider-Man isn't a Sony mascot exactly, but the Spider-Man font was on the PS3. There've been plenty of good Spider-Man games, and Insomniac's always been kind of right there with PlayStation, you know?
Well, this opportunity for us was really unique. We've been building unique original IPs for a long, long time. And when Sony came to us and said, would you all be interested in working with Marvel? And we said, that sounds really interesting. And it wasn't something that any of us would have expected. And we began talking to Marvel as well, and Marvel was fantastic, and they said, which character would you guys be interested in working on? And moreover, would you be interested in creating an original story for that character? And so we, as a team, we talked, and we realized very quickly that Spider-Man was the right character, mostly because we feel like he embodies a lot of the characteristics we see in ourselves as a group.
Yeah, he's the first hero with with zits and everything. Like he's very very relatable, very human.
Yeah. He's very relatable. I agree. Yeah.
I feel like Insomniac made such a great reputation about how the style and personality and what kind of gameplay to expect from an Insomniac game. And then when we first heard that Insomniac is doing a Spider-Man game, it was like, huh? But then the more you thought about it and the more we saw of the game, it's like, oh, this makes perfect sense. You guys are all about the freedom of exploring an environment with unique traversal, telling great stories, having great heroes, and we just see that all over this game.
Well, we've really enjoyed taking what we believe are our strengths as game designers and expanding them with a giant city where you can go anywhere by creating what we think is a very unique traversal system for Spider-Man, very agile combat in the game, and also really showing Peter Parker in a new light. And this is a different Peter Parker. He's 23 years old. He has a job. He is balancing his life as Spider-Man with his challenges of being Peter. And we felt like we could relate, and we felt a lot of our fans would be able to relate to this as well.
Now, you touched on open world stuff. Obviously, that's a huge selling point here. But you've been making games for a long time. What do you think is now technologically possible that wasn't previously, that really kind of allows for a amazing new, no pun intended, Spider-Man game?
Well, certainly scale. I mean, if you look at the size of the world in which you can play in Spider-Man, it is immense. It's significantly larger than any game we've ever created. And the amount of content we've had to generate to make the city interesting so that every alley you enter or every rooftop you land on has a special flavor is something that we really couldn't have done in the past.
What's the energy around the studio been like? Because it's Spider-Man. Everyone loves Spider-Man.
Well, first of all, making games is hard. Any developer will tell you that. But when you make a game that you're passionate about, a game where you feel like you can connect with the story and with the characters you are building, it makes it fun. I mean, it's why we get into games, because we want to create worlds that we feel that we're a part of in some way. And so as a group, we're very collaborative. We've worked very closely with Sony and with Marvel as well to build what we think is a unique take on Spider-Man.
And that's got to be really cool, because you're making up your own story. It's not a licensed game in the sort of historical sense of you have to hit this style guide. You guys are having some leeway. This is a new Spider-Man in the the tangled web of the many Spider-Men.
You were just hitting those puns one after another.
It's unintentional. It comes out when I'm nervous. But no, I don't know, like what's been the research for this? Like obviously comics, but there's also movies and cartoons, and Spider-Man's been around for generations.
Well, we have a lot of Marvel fans at Insomniac, people who have grown up with Marvel comics. We've all seen Marvel movies, and we've been really impressed with how Marvel has put together an incredibly varied universe. And it's to have team members who can come in understanding the lore and who these characters are at the core really helps develop a new story, a new take on somebody like Peter Parker or Mary Jane or Miles. And that, we believe, helps expand the universe even further.
You know, you mentioned story, and I'm a huge story guy. I love the comic books. And I feel like what you've done, it really feels like the Marvel Ultimate Universe again, which was like back in like 2000, they decided, let's start a new line of comics that are just easy for anyone to get into, take the entire Spidey mythos and just like shake it up, find the most interesting things, add in some new twists, and then present it again as a new story. And I feel that so strongly with this we see the Sinister Six, they look a little different. There seems to be a leader we don't know about. There's new, the old is new again. It feels extremely fresh. And again, like I feel like you've just done all the right things to get people super excited to play this.
Well, thanks. I mean, for us, we're excited to see what people think. I mean, it's coming out very soon.
So obviously Spider-Man has some very iconic bosses and villains and stuff. Not bosses, he's got villains, but how did you go about like picking which bosses got in there? Was there like a schoolyard argument among the team?
There was certainly a lot of debate. I mean, what was fantastic is there's a giant universe of Marvel characters to choose from, and we had to figure out first what is Peter Parker's arc? What is Spider-Man's arc? Who is he, and who would be the right characters to fight against, to present more obstacles he has to overcome? And so that was a long conversation at Insomniac and a long conversation with Marvel and Sony. It was nice to actually reach those light bulb moments together where we all said, yes, that particular villain is perfect for the story we're trying to tell.
When did this conversation first happen? Like when did it first get floated?
A few years ago.
A few years ago?
Yeah.
Been a minute?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like with this sort of scenario where you've got Sony and Marvel and Insomniac all working together, that could very easily be like a too many cooks situation. But it seems like it's more kind of communication and teamwork almost.
I think in any publishing relationship, it comes down to how often you can get together and just talk face to face and make sure that you understand each other. And we've worked with Sony for over 20 years. And I think that we trust them, they trust us. We have extremely good communication about the good and the bad when it comes to development, because every development is full of bumps, right? And if you can get over those bumps together as a group, then you end up with a much stronger game.
Well, awesome. It's looking very, very solid. Thank you so much for coming by, Ted.
My pleasure. Thank you guys.
We have you in just a minute for Spyro. But first, Spider-Man hits PS4 on September 7th, almost exactly 20 years after another beloved Insomniac game, Spyro the Dragon. We have to take a short break, but when we get back, Ted is going to take PlayStation fans on a trip down memory card lane with the Spyro Reignited trilogy, and then things are going to get spooky when we sit in with the stars of Curse of La Llorona.